So you're looking to launch your software as a medical device, your SaMD, in Europe. That's fantastic. But you need to know, you're stepping onto a new kind of battlefield. It's one of the most exciting markets in digital health for sure, but it's also become one of the most dangerous. The rulebook has been torn up, the stakes are way higher. And today, we're going to break down exactly how you fortify your company for this new reality.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll get the lay of the land, the new battlefield. Then we're going to identify the enemy, all those critical risks you're facing. After that, it's time to forge your armor, building the right financial shield. We'll even see how that shield holds up in a crisis. And finally, we'll lay out your strategic blueprint to make sure you come out on top. Let's dive in.
Let's just start with a question that every founder, every exec really needs to sit with for a second. Your team writes amazing, brilliant code, right? But what happens when just one bug or one slightly biased algorithm causes actual patient harm? Well, under the EU's new rules, that single line of code can trigger a financial catastrophe. This isn't just a tech problem anymore. It's a multi-million-dollar business liability.
So, let's really explore this new battlefield. For years, software was kind of an afterthought in medical device regulations. Not anymore. The European Union has completely rewritten the playbook. And if you're a digital health company, this changes absolutely everything.
First off, let's just be super clear on what we're talking about when we say SaMD. It's standalone software. So think about an AI that analyzes X-rays on a doctor's computer, or maybe a cloud platform that helps patients manage their diabetes. The key is that the software is not part of some physical gadget. All its power, all its magic, comes from the code and the data. And that independence is exactly why it's now under such an intense microscope.
And the game changer here is the EU's new medical device regulation, or the MDR. And trust me, this isn't just a small update, it's a complete revolution. The MDR shoves most SaMD, especially the AI-powered tools, into much higher risk categories. And what does that mean for you? It means way more scrutiny, a mountain of paperwork, and a brand new, totally non-negotiable demand. You have to prove you can cover the financial fallout when things go wrong.
Okay, so now that we get the new landscape, we need to identify the enemy. And in this fight, the threats aren't your competitors. They're these specific risk vectors that can come after your tech, your patients, and your bottom line. So let's map them out.
The first and, frankly, most serious threat is clinical risk. Your software might not physically touch a patient, but its output guides life or death decisions. And the dangers here are huge. You could have an algorithm trained on a biased dataset that misdiagnoses an entire demographic. A simple server outage could delay a life-saving diagnosis. Oh, and if you say your AI is 95% accurate, but it's really closer to 70%, that's not a marketing fib. That's a product defect waiting to cause harm.
And you can just see the dominoes fall, can't you? It starts with one tiny, subtle flaw in the code. That flaw causes a clinical mistake. That mistake causes real patient harm, and that harm, well, that leads to a lawsuit that could literally bankrupt your company. This is the exact scenario the MDR was created to prevent.
Now, threat vector number 2 is all about cyber and tech risks. Because your SaMD is connected to the internet, it basically has a giant target painted on its back. A data breach doesn't just get you in trouble with Europe's tough GDPR privacy laws. It completely shatters patient trust. A ransomware attack could shut down your hospital clients, making you responsible for their losses. You could even have a bad actor poison your training data, secretly turning your helpful tool into a weapon.
And finally, the third threat vector is aimed right at the boardroom. A single error can get you fined under the MDR and GDPR at the same time. A software recall isn't just expensive, it's a PR nightmare. And if your investors think you oversold your AI's abilities or just plain failed to manage these risks, they can sue the directors and officers personally. That's right, their personal assets are on the line.
Okay, that's a lot of threats. Pretty intimidating, right? So how do you defend yourself? Well, the EU doesn't just want you to have a good plan. It demands that you have a financial shield. This is where we forge your armor.
The heart of this whole thing is in Article 10, Section 16 of the MDR. It's a direct command: you must have sufficient financial coverage for your potential liability. And this is not a suggestion. It's not optional. Without it, the auditors, called a notified body, will not give you your CE mark, and the CE mark is your ticket to sell in Europe. It's really that simple. No financial armor, no EU market, period.
So what does this shield even look like? Well, it's not just one policy. It's actually 4 integrated layers of armor. You got product liability. That's your core defense for any claims of patient harm.
Then there's cyber liability to fight off digital attacks. You also need professional errors and omissions, or E&O, which covers you if you cause problems for your hospital clients. And finally, directors and officers insurance, which protects the personal assets of your leadership team.
Talking about this stuff in the abstract is one thing, but let's see how this armor actually performs when things get real. We're going to run through two pretty intense crisis scenarios to see how this shield works when you need it most.
Just imagine this for a second. A hacker hits your cloud platform with ransomware. And just like that, every single hospital that relies on your SaMD is completely paralyzed. They can't treat patients, they're losing a ton of money every minute, and guess who they're looking at for answers? And for a very big check.
If you don't have insurance, the fallout is just catastrophic. There's the ransom demand, the lawsuits from angry hospitals, the massive cost to rebuild your systems, plus regulatory fines. But as you can see here, a good cyber liability policy is designed to cover every single one of those things. It turns what would be a company-ending event into a manageable crisis.
Okay, now for the ultimate SaMD nightmare. Your amazing AI tool, the one that's supposed to spot early-stage cancer, has a tiny flaw. It gives a false negative. A year goes by, and that patient is diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Now a lawsuit claims your defective product cost them their life. And again, the costs without insurance are just unthinkable. We're talking millions in legal fees and even more for a settlement. You might even have to do a mandatory product recall. This is where your product liability policy becomes your main shield. It pays the lawyers, it pays the settlement, and it can even cover the cost of a recall and hiring a crisis PR team.
This brings us to the final, and I think most critical point. This isn't just about buying a policy to check some box. This is about building a strategic blueprint that weaves risk management and insurance right into the DNA of your company.
You have to stop thinking of insurance as just another expense. It's a strategic asset. It's what gets you that CE mark so you can even enter the market. It's what big hospital systems demand to see before they'll sign a contract with you. And at the end of the day, it's the ultimate shield that protects your entire balance sheet from a catastrophic shock.
This slide right here really brings it all home. Think of it as your strategic map. For every single major threat we talked about, patient harm, a cyber attack, a contract failure, a lawsuit from your shareholders, there's a specific piece of armor designed to counter it. This is your blueprint for being resilient in the EU market. And to make this really practical, here is your checklist for when that auditor from the notified body comes knocking. You're going to need your certificates of insurance. You need a written document explaining why your coverage limits are sufficient. You have to show how this is all integrated into your quality management system. And you'll need to confirm that your official person responsible for regulatory compliance is overseeing the whole thing.
So we'll end with this question. In this new EU landscape, if you're still seeing insurance as just another cost, you're making a huge strategic mistake. It's not a line item. It's your license to innovate, your license to partner with the biggest hospitals, and ultimately, it is your license to operate.
This analysis was brought to you based on the expertise of Nikos Georgilopoulos, his specialist in exactly this area of digital risk and insurance. Thank you so much for joining us for this explainer. The battlefield has definitely changed, but now you have the blueprint to build your armor and to win.